the ship began to move. It carried me over into Canaan's land.
Why not let every man? Oh, fix me, Jesus. Oh, fix me, Jesus. Oh, fix me, Lord. Fix me, Jesus. Fix me.
I would not be a gambler. I'll tell you the reason why. 'Cause if my Lord should call on me, Lord, I wouldn't be ready to die. Run to the sea, sea, won't you hide me? Run to the sea, sea, won't you hide me? Run to the sea, sea, won't you hide me? All on that day.
Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding a light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. To talk about Black excellence today, we are going to talk about the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater Company, a iconic dance theater in the world, and their 66th anniversary season. They are performing now this season until ending of December of this year. And to talk about this, we have one of the great performers of this company, Miss Ashley Kaylynn Green. Welcome to My Harlem Portrait.
Thank you, Maria.
You have recently been called a powerhouse by the New York Times for your performance in Are You In Your Feelings?
Yes.
And you joined the company in 2021, year in which you were also the recipient of the prestigious Princess Grace Foundation Award and were named one of Dance Magazine's 25 to watch for 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so young and you already have all these amazing recognitions. So let me start by asking you, when was the first time that you saw a Alvin Ailey performance? And
first
was that made you decide that you wanted to be a dancer, or you had already decided before?
I saw Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater when I was 10 years old at the Spoleto Festival in Charleston at the Gilliard Theater. I remember like all this. And my mom, somebody at my mom's job got her tickets because they knew that I danced, and they were like, this will be cute, take your daughter. And I didn't really know. I didn't know that they were like Black dancers because I am from I'm from South Carolina, and the studio I went to was predominantly white. So there's only like a few Black people there in general. So I never really thought of it as necessarily a career before I watched the company. And I watched the company when I was like 10. I believe I was 10. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, there's people that look like me. I can do this for real professionally. And I could be around people who I can relate to, who can help me with things. Because there was things I always need help with, like my hair and makeup, because of being with people who didn't have the same texture hair or the same complexion. It was always a little bit challenging. So that was really cool. And that honestly was the biggest thing when I saw the company for me at first. My first time when I was 10, I was like, wow, I'm going to be just like them, Mom. And I remember I wrote on Facebook that night, Like I had a secret Facebook account and I wrote on the Facebook, I in Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And the memory just came up like 2 days ago. And it was like from when I was 10, and I was like, I want to be in this company. So honestly, that moment and that performance actually did change my perspective of like seeing myself as a dancer. And I was like, oh, I can actually do this. It's like an actual goal that is reachable and not just like a hobby. It feels like I can actually like do the thing that I dream about instead of wishing I could do.
That is really, really amazing to hear the way you were astonished that there were Black dancers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so what you are doing now is also going to have the same effect on
Mm-hmm.
other kids who are going to see you dancing and thinking, oh, I can do that, because they
For
do
sure.
that. What is funny about this is that in Europe, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Company was very, very famous. And it was famous because it was mainly Black dancers who were performing. And it was, I mean, as I told you before, I saw it in Brussels and I was in awe. And everybody wanted to go and see Alvin Ailey. It was like a real happening.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. Like it's wild that I knew nothing about Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And I was at a dance studio and I knew nothing until I went to that show. And then I was like obsessed and could not stop researching, watching videos. I was on YouTube like every day. Because I remember the dancers I watched. I saw Matthew Rushing, who's now our interim artistic director right now. And it's kind of crazy because I was watching him when I was 10 on stage. And now like I'm working for him and I get to learn from him and be under his mentorship. And I think that is just so special. It's kind of crazy. And also like even Hope, I think Hope was in that show too. I remember seeing her in that show. And then I just did a piece for the 65th year anniversary for Miss Jamison that was choreographed by Hope. And it's just like, it's all full circle. And it's like, everything was meant to happen. And like me going to that show that night was meant to happen so that I could be here today. And it's like, it's overwhelming, but it's exciting.
Change the course of your life, probably.
For sure. Definitely.
Amazing, fantastic. So tell us about your beginning and the development of your career that brought you to Alvin Ailey.
Yes. So when I was younger, I danced at a recreational studio, very like low maintenance, like not very intense, but then I started doing competition dance. And that's when I started training like pretty much everything, because there was like this shift in competition dance where it was like really ballet heavy. So I was going to like a competition studio and a ballet studio. So on the weekends, my mom and me would drive 2 hours to I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. So we would drive to Columbia, South Carolina every weekend. She would drop me off and I would stay there for the weekend so I could like do my competition dancing. But then during the week in Charleston, I would dance at Charleston Dance Institute, which is a ballet studio predominantly. So I was just like always doing ballet during the week. And I also went to art school.
Wow.
For middle school to high school. And I was just dancing all the time. And then for college, I went to Point Park University. And that's when I really started to shift my idea of dance, because since I was younger, I didn't know much. Because although I saw Ailey when I was 10, that was like the last time I saw them until my sophomore year of college. Wow. And then my sophomore year of college, I went to the Ailey summer program, which was so eye-opening. And actually, like, that was the moment where I was like, I have to dance here. Like when I went to the summer program, because just being in the building, it's like you feel the legacy, you feel like the hard work that got us this building. And you're just like, I just want to like be a part of this Black excellence so much. Like, how can I be a part of this legacy? And from there on, that was like my goal for the most part. And then the pandemic happened, unfortunately. And I couldn't audition for the company my senior year because I was a pandemic graduate. So then I auditioned for this one company called Wim Wim right before the pandemic, like a week before the pandemic. I auditioned for Wim Wim and I got it, luckily. And I joined that company for the year. And then one day because the company was looking for dancers. Mr. Battle at the time called me and was like,
Mr. Battle is now their director of Alvin Ailey Company.
yes. He called me and he said, hi. So like, it was like, I think it was like 10 in the morning because I was living in Seattle. So it was different in New York. I think New York, it was like 1 o'clock. And I just didn't expect it. And he called me one morning and he was like, so I would like to offer you a job with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater.
Wow.
And it came out of nowhere. Like, and it was so strange because I was praying for it. It was like, I was like wanting a change from Seattle. I love Seattle, but I was like, I want to change. I don't know what it will be. I do love Seattle, but I think I want something different. And then all of a sudden, a week later from me saying that, he called me on the phone and offered me a job. And then I moved here 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And joined the company.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about the summer program that you, because that's very interesting for young people who want to be dancers, to know how to get in, because it's a way to get into Alvin Ailey. Otherwise, they wouldn't have seen how amazing you were, right?
For sure. The way that I did it back in the day, I think they still do it this way. Like, we had an audition process where we did ballet, we did Horton, and we did Graham. We did all 3 styles. And for the summer program, it's not necessarily like the college. I don't know if at the college they do like smaller groups, but for the summer, it's a little bit of a bigger group. And they have a dress code, usually wearing like black tights, black leotard, or pink tights with black leotard, one of those, or flesh tone. And pretty much you go through a series of movement, and they do like groups. You just keep doing it in groups. And it's kind of fun, actually, the summer program audition, because it's more like you're taking like a class, like with these like amazing people of Ailey, which is great. So you're just like, feel like you're in a master class the whole time. So that's really nice. And then it's a pretty easy process in terms of like, you just go to the class, you do your audition. It lasts about 2 hours. And then you wait and find out if you got in. And then once you get in, they give you these levels of wherever your classes are going to be in and what level you are in: modern, ballet, jazz. And you can pick different electives to do, like improv and such. And yeah, and then it's like, when I was there, I believe that it was 5 weeks long, but now I think they changed it so you could either do a 2-week program or a 3-week program.
So it's shortened.
Yeah, you can pick which one you want to do, or you can do all 5. I think that's still an option.
And so after you did the summer program and Battle called you, did you have to audition again, or your summer program became your audition?
Well, actually, funny you say that. I think that how it happened, kind of like how it solidified everything, is I posted, I think I was, during this time, during the pandemic, I really got into improv, and I was posting improv videos on my Instagram and Facebook, like probably every other day. And I think one day he just was scrolling. I didn't even know he had Instagram, but scrolling on Instagram and came across my video and was like, wow, look at this girl. And then he was just asking people about me. My friend, Jacqueline Harris, who's also in the company, is like my sister, and she knows me very well. So he asked her about me, and I've worked with some people in the company before, like prior to graduation and stuff. So they spoke really highly of me. And then he just gave me a chance, because it was also a pandemic. So there was no time to really have an audition, So they just took a shot on me, and luckily it worked out.
Well, your audition were your videos on online.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that was my audition.
And at that time, anyway, if you had done an audition, it would have been online. So I guess that's
true.
So in a sense, the pandemic has done a little good thing for you, in a sense.
The pandemic actually did like amazing things for me, if I'm honest. The pandemic, like, I found my womanhood. I found my artistry. I found my voice as an artist. I found my voice as a person. It like the pandemic made me grow up so much because I moved to Seattle during the pandemic with like my family didn't come with me. I moved by myself. My first time living like across the country with like it was hard. It was like not saying my parents struggled, but it's expensive to go to all the way from South Carolina to Seattle. And it was like, you're just going to do this by yourself. I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. That was like, I grew up during the pandemic. And then when Mr. Battle called me, it was like, somehow my dreams are happening in the pandemic as well. And it was like, everything was like coming together so perfectly that it was like, it just made the pandemic, Princess Grace in the pandemic, top 25 to watch in the pandemic. Like everything was just flourishing during the pandemic for me. And I think it's because I stayed so open-minded during it. My spirits, surprisingly, I know like it was a very hard time. My spirits were lifted somehow. And it helped me grow so much as a person, as it did probably everyone a little.
Yeah, it changed everybody's life.
Yeah.
Some people for the better because they recognize and they found themselves, like for you, for others, not so well.
Yeah, for sure.
And 2021, that was my next question, was a successful, particularly successful year for you because not only you graduated, but you received the Princess Grace Award in dance and so on and so on. So tell us also about this because that's pretty incredible too.
Yes. So my former boss, director, Olivier Webers, he nominated me for Princess Grace back in February of 2021. Yes. And we went through that whole process, not expecting anything from it, really. Like, I was like, because we write so many papers for the Princess Grace, and I was like, I'm just not that. I don't know how, like, great I am at my papers. I don't know if my story or what I'm about is coming across in these papers. So I truly, because everything was happening so fast, I actually forgot that I was like, Princess Grace, I like took it like I'm not even going to get it. So I moved to New York.
And I forgot about it.
Yeah, I forgot about it. I was like, I'm done. I did whatever. That's not real. And then my first day at Ailey, actually, or my second day at Ailey, one of those, my first week, I got the call that I got the Princess Grace. And I was like, what is happening? Am I living in a fever dream? I could not believe that I got it. I was like, I didn't even think I was in consideration. I didn't even, what? And I was just overwhelmed. Because I was actually like, I wasn't ignoring their calls, but I don't answer calls that like I don't know the number. So I was just not answering. And they left me a voicemail like, please call us back. And I was like, okay, I don't know who this is. And then I called them during one of my lunch breaks at Ailey. And then they were like, you received the Princess Grace Award. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it was so amazing. I was crying in the street. I was like,
that's fantastic. That is fantastic. So let's talk about this season then, the 65th anniversary of Alvin Ailey.
Yes.
During this season, the company is performing both classical of Mr. Alvin Ailey, who has written Revelations 65 years ago, and is still so amazing and amazing. And
it's the best piece like ever. It's my favorite piece every year. Every single year, Revelations is no matter who you are, no matter like your ethnicity, your race, your gender, like anything, like you relate to it so much. And it speaks volumes. And it speaks volumes about Mr. Ailey and his artistry, his creativity. He's just brilliant. And I'm so honored that we get to celebrate him this year for 65.
Yeah. And so what do you perform? Which ballet, which pieces do you perform during this season?
So this season, in terms of the Ailey classics, I performed Memoria. I perform Night Creature. I perform Bird Lives and Night in Tunisia as well. I do 4 ballets of the Ailey classics. And for, obviously, we all do Revelations, but I do Revelations as well. And different sections in Revelations every single time, but Revelations.
Wow, so you have to learn all the different...
Yeah, we all pretty much know every single track of Revelations because we need to like fluctuate going in and out and all the things. And I mean, you just want to learn all of the tracks in Mr. Ailey's ballets because they're just so challenging and make your heart like soar.
That's fantastic. And what do you perform of the new ones?
On the new ones, I perform Ode by Jamar Roberts and Dancing Spirit by Ronald K. Brown. And I also perform Century by Amy Hall Gardner. And that's the only ones I'm performing, but there also is Me, Myself, and You by Elizabeth Rojas. And that piece is beautiful as well. It's a duet and it takes you through a journey of love and grief.
And so that is the one you prefer to perform of the new ones?
My favorite piece to perform out of the new ones, I will say, is probably Ode. Ode to me feels like it's so relatable to what's happening in the world, but also to myself. And it's such an honor to do it with like the other women of Ailey. Like it's like our piece because it's an all-woman cast. And it's just like, there's just so much love and generosity in there. And we rarely get to just dance, just the women, just us together. And it feels like such a good bonding piece as well. And it's one of, other than Mr. Ailey's works of Revelations, it's like the only other piece to me that I feel like can relate to everything that's happening, like in the news, in my personal life, in everything. Like it has so much shading and so many layers that I can just give myself to.
Wow, this sounds really incredible.
Yes,
Tell us how it evolves, that piece, Ode, what it is about, because now I'm very intrigued by what you're saying.
Yes.
You relate to every piece of it, so people want to know.
The piece, like, originally the piece was an all-male piece, actually. It was an all-male ballet. And it had one cast of women, like one women cast. And then this year they decided to make it like an only woman cast because the women didn't get to do it as much because also it was done like the year of the pandemic. So, you know, that cut off, everyone got cut off. So they didn't get to actually perform it enough. So then they allow the women now to do it. Whoop, whoop. But the piece is basically like a meditation on the beauty and fragility of life in a time of gun violence, wars, anything that like of the sort. It's supposed to be like this tender, engrossing work, and it's supposed to be like with this amazing jazz score. It has this amazing jazz score that takes you through like a journey. The music alone takes you through these highs and lows of like what it feels like, almost like, to me, if I can relate it to anything, like when something tragic happens, like in the news, and like you feel like you can't, there's like, I want to like reach out and help, and it's like, I don't even know what I can do for you, kind of thing is how the piece feels to me. And like feeling like all you want is peace, like trying to find how much peace can we bring to the situation, like how can we, in this all this chaos, how much peace can we find, is like really what the piece means to me personally, but also I believe to Jamar too, like just trying to like push the agenda of like how much peace can we bring to this. Like there's a world of all these things happening, and there's gun violence and there's everything, but there's also love there, and if we search for it, how can we find it? And yeah, the piece is, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Fantastic. Which one was the moment, if there was one, in which you felt like, am I gonna make this? Was there any moment in which you doubted?
I mean, honestly, Ailey's a very hard job, and I doubt myself quite often. Like this past week, I would say that happened to me this past week. It was just like rehearsals were long. We had shows every night, and we also had 2-show weekend. We had like a 4-show weekend. So we had 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday. And I just remember being like, I just don't know if I can make it. Am I cut out for this? Like, because you're learning so many ballets, people get hurt, people like you need to step in for people, and you're like, oh my goodness, you're just going on stage and you're like, oh, am I prepared? Like you're just really nervous. And the nerves never get normal for me. I think like this is the first week though that I was like, do it. And I'm in my 3rd season. So I'm like, hard. This is challenging, this week. It's funny you asked that question. I actually thought that this week. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I mean, now I'm better. I'm great now. I just had a moment, but it's like that moment where you just doubt yourself. Like, am I good enough for this? Can I do this? Because you're performing for all these people and you want to give them a great show every single time. You're like, please body work with me,
Please body work with me.
Like, please body, please do me justice today, please.
Wow. And what did you do? What made you overcome this?
What made me overcoming is relying on like my peers, relying on my artistic staff, like to really guide me and support me, and just trust in myself, and to trust in God, and trust that like it will happen if I just believe like in myself that I can do this. Like,
what do your parents, what do they think of this? How
my parents are so proud. We worked really as a unit. Me, my mom, and my dad worked so hard to make this happen. Ailey's been a dream for all of us for so long for me. And it's like, we did whatever it took to get me here, driving 2 hours for 5 years straight.
That is amazing.
Like my mom working 2 jobs. My dad's like a small business owner, like working extra hours just so that we can make sure that I was able to like go to college, and even go to my dance studio, my ballet studio, all these studios, and traveling. And they're just like, this hard work paid off. Like we all put in our best efforts to make this happen. And it actually happened. How lucky are we to experience it together? It's how like, it's just crazy. They were here last week for the show.
Yes.
They were overwhelmed with like love and passion.
It's fantastic. This conversation is going to inspire so many young people, because the enthusiasm that comes out of you just exudes from you, and the happiness and I'm inspired. I'm happy now. I'm gonna have some beautiful Christmas knowing that someone is so happy in their life and they achieved their dreams because they worked so hard. And your parents have put in so much work, because it's not, it's not every parent doing that.
I know. I got really lucky. I got really, really very, very lucky.
Yeah, you have. So congratulations for that. One last thing. A young person who wants to start that kind of career, what is the thing to do and not to do?
I say the thing to do is get into your classes. Don't skip those classes. And when you feel the urge to dance, do it all the time. Never stop. Don't let people tell you like, like if you feel it, you do it. If you want it, you have to go for it as much as you want. The thing I say not to do is don't give up. It's so much easier to give up. But if you keep going for it, of course, if you love it, I say only do it if you love it, because it is such a hard job. Your body is exhausted 95% of the time. If you don't love it, I wouldn't do it. But if you love it, keep going at it. Don't sacrifice it because you feel like as if you're not good enough, or someone's telling you you're not good enough. That doesn't matter. If you feel it, you do it.
Wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody who is watching this, our show now, go get your tickets and go and see this show, because it's absolutely amazing.
Yes, please come see us.
at City Center, right?
Yes, at the New York City Center.
At New York City Center. So thank you, Ashley, for all this. Good luck for your continuation in this beautiful career that you have. And thank you to my viewers. See you next Saturday again for another episode of My Harlem Portraits. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.